Alright, hello, and welcome back to Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 2, Watanagashi. So let's go to the new tips. So let's see, from the scrapbook 8. The three families of modern times. As previously described, the three families counseled today is a mere shell of a democracy. In reality, it's a dictatorship run by the Sonozaki family. Both the Kimiyoshi and Furude families are far from their former glory, and it doesn't seem at all like they've maintained the ancient traditions. Only the Sonozaki family has retained their glory from the past and has inherited many colorful traditions from the age known as Onigafuchi village. Even the most recent verifiable example of the Watanagashi that occurred at the end of the Meiji era seems to have been done under the orders of the Sonozaki family. Refer to the three families' genealogical tree from the late Meiji. After the start of the Meiji era, the Sonozaki family wanted to push the development of the Hinamizawa village, so they took a strong role in leadership. During the dam wars a few years ago, the Kimiyoshi family served as the chair of the opposition alliance, but this was in name only. In actuality, the Sonozaki family reigned as leader behind the scenes. People whisper that perhaps the Kimiyoshi family dictated acts of opposition that could be publicized, and the Sonozaki family enacted those which could not. Even in Hinamizawa, they whisper that the multitude of unsettling incidents reported during the dam protest, such as the kidnapping of the famous head of the Ministry of Construction's son, had been carried out by the Sonozakis. Additionally, they say that perhaps the Sonozaki family's secret maneuvering was responsible for the serial freak death incidents that have continuously occurred in recent years as well. The serial freak death incidents are without a doubt the second coming of the traditional Watanagashi. They must be enacting the Watanagashi on the day of the original Watanagashi, which has fallen to the level of an ordinary village festival in order to remind the villagers of the holy laws of Onigafuchi village. It's safe to assert that exploring the Sonozaki family is the fastest route for researching it today. If I can expose the contents of the Furude Shrine storehouse, I like to narrow my research target to the Sonozaki family next. The Sonozaki house is strictly guarded by security cameras on the premises, but thankfully, I've become acquainted with the sisters Mion, the next heir, and Shion. I want this to be a breakthrough I can connect to my next line of research. Alright. Their punishment isn't over? No, don't worry about it. You see, when you order the Oden here, however you pronounce it, for some reason it ends up on the annual invoice for our gas contracts. So don't be shy and have another drink. The man, red-faced, waved his hand to say that he had had enough and disappeared into the brilliant neon lights in the front of the station. Kuma-chan, you should be taking notes. The most modest people are the ones who live longest. Was all that true? Well, I don't know about that. Whether or not it's true, I think there's meaning in hearing something that sounds so plausible. Would something like that be a motive to go for the mayor? Kuma-chan, here's what I always say. The motive only has to be enough for the person in question. You need to think about how different people value different things. Hey, bartender, give me another mug. Though we have been suppressing the information, Tomitake and Takano's deaths were already known throughout Hinamizawa. All of the rumors pointed to them having incurred the wrath of Ueshiro-sama for setting foot in the Forbidden Temple, the storehouse for ritual implements. According to the rumors, there were two other people who went in there with them. Shion Sonozaki and Keiichi Maebara. People were whispering in the shadows that those two would be cursed by Ueshiro-sama as well. Apparently, however, the responsibility didn't fall solely on the four trespassers' shoulders. Until last year, it was locked up tight, but this year, it hadn't been changed to a simpler lock. Oh, it had been changed to a simpler lock. Hadn't that been what allowed thieves to enter so easily? Those were the rumors going around. Have you ever seen it, Kuma-chan? I remember it well. I had to go there for something quite a while back. Sorry, I don't really remember. It was locked up so tight it was scary. There were these real heavy bars holding it shut. It was sealed up as good as a bank vault. This year, it was a very simple and cheap padlock. The lone girl protecting the shrine, Rika Furude, disliked the heavy locks and consulted with the mayor, who had replaced it with a simpler padlock. So then the mayor and Rika Furude shared the crime? So then after the mayor, wouldn't Rika Furude be in danger next? There's a decent possibility. Kuma-chan. I want you to contact all the cars we have in Hinamizawa. Tell them to stick near the Furude shrine. Got it. Alright. Continue. After hanging up on Shion, I searched for Rika-chan's phone number on my school's contact list. There it is! My fingers trembled with urgency, and I failed multiple times to put in the simple 5-digit number. Keiichi, are you calling someone at this hour? It's late, and it's being rude to the other person. That doesn't matter right now. I shouted angrily at my mother, listening to the dial tone. Pick up, come on, pick up! The time was 11 p.m. It certainly wasn't early. It was essentially the middle of the night. Had Rika-chan already gone to bed? Her phone would be ringing constantly, though, so would she get back up for me? Rika-chan didn't pick up. She didn't pick up. She didn't pick up! Maybe she just happened to miss it. Maybe her bed was just too far away from the phone. The sound of a phone ringing gets clearer and clearer the longer you go on sleeping. Then, the bathroom? Yeah, she must be taking a bath. If that was the case, then even if she heard the phone, she wouldn't be able to pick it up. It was a little late to be taking a bath, but it was possible she normally took baths right before going to bed. I'll wait 30 minutes, then try calling again. Even as I was thinking that, I called her house over and over again. I kept calling. Over and over, again and again. I kept on calling her, but she didn't pick up even once. I think I kept trying for about 30 minutes, yet she wasn't picking up. Were my phone calls so persistent that she had gotten scared of picking up the receiver? No, that couldn't possibly be it. There was no point in doing this any longer. The best thing to do would be to go there in person. Where was Rika-chan's house, though? Shit, I've never even asked her where she lived. Her residence was written there in the contact list, but it was an address with mostly numbers, so I couldn't tell where it was just by reading it. Isn't there a map or something in here? Rika Furude. Her last name was Furude. It was a bit of an all-last name, so it might be easy to find. Thinking that, I rummaged around the drawer with the phone book, but could only find things like takeout menus and phone numbers for public establishments. Shit! 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 I tore one thing after another out of the drawer, but I didn't come up with any clues as to where Rika-chan's house was. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. If you don't know, then just ask. Ask someone who does know. Ah, that's it. Reina's gotta know. I looked up Reina's phone number on the contact list. Reina Ryugu. There she was. Hello? This is Ryugu? It was the voice of a grumpy-sounding man. It must have been Reina's father. I'm calling in the middle of the night. I need to be polite. I'm sorry for calling so late at night. This is Maebara. Is there any chance Reina-san is around? Reina's taking a bath. Oh, she's done? Reina! There's a friend of yours on the phone. Oh right, Reina Ryugu was her real name, wasn't it? I gotten so used to calling her Reina that hearing her real name caught me a little off guard. Hello? This is Reina? Ah, it's me, Keiichi. Sorry for calling so late. Huh? Keiichi-kun? What do you need at a time like this? Like this? Well, actually, I want to know where Rika-chan's house is. Reina seemed a little appalled that I called that I called her for something like that at this hour. However, she spoke her next words seriously, as if she caught on how urgent my need was. Okay, sure. You know the assembly hall in the grounds of the Furude Shrine? There's a 2-story shack used for storage behind it. That's where she lives. I couldn't immediately visualize the place, but as long as I knew she lived on the shrine grounds, I'd just have to take a look around. Got it. Thanks. Sorry again for calling so late. Apologize to your dad for me too, would you? Okay, but Keiichi-kun, why do you want to know where Rika-chan lives? Reina asked in an unusually sharp way, halting me before I could hang up the phone. I hesitated for a moment about whether to tell her. He was killed because I told him. Keiichi-kun, if you're still listening, could you answer me? Why are you asking where Rika-chan lives at a time like this? Reina affected her usual tone, but beneath her words lay a certain tension, like she'd intuitively sensed something was going on. What will you do, Keiichi? If it's Reina, can't I tell her? He was killed because he found out. I revealed everything, so he was killed. Keiichi-kun, Reina's being serious. Please answer me. Reina asked me once again in a tone so forceful I couldn't imagine her ever using it normally. I was taken aback by her vigor. Reina was Rika-chan's friend too. She had the right to know. She'd be concerned about Rika-chan disappearing. If I told Reina, then even if only for a moment, I could drive away my horrifying fears. Reina, well, I can't exactly tell you why, but yes? Reina's tone was seriousness itself. Just from that tone, I could feel her saying, no matter what you say, Keiichi-kun, I'll believe you. That subtle sense of security gave me the courage to reveal the truth. I have a feeling that Rika-chan is in danger. You mean like a premonition? Or do you have some reason to believe she's in danger? I really didn't have time to go back and forth with Reina about this. Still, I think listening to her calm voice soothed my pointless impatience. I don't have much reason, but yet I still hesitated. I had told Rika-chan that we had snuck into the ritual storehouse. The mayor, to whom Shion had confessed before that, had already disappeared. So it was possible that Rika-chan also... I didn't know how to explain it to Reina. While I was tongue-tied, Reina spoke up. Sorry for asking something so weird. I thought about it, and it isn't like you to need to be sure. Reina laughed a little, seeming a bit absent-minded. I wasn't exactly in the mood to laugh, so this time I was dumbfounded. Reina continued in a cheerful yet still purposeful voice. You're worried about a friend. I don't think you need a reason to go and check on them. Even if Rika-chan was asleep, and you ended up waking her up, if that was why you did it, then none of us would get mad. Reina, thank you. Okay then, Keiichi-kun, just one thing. You called Rika-chan's house, right? Then you just couldn't get through, so that's why you asked me where her house is? Yeah, that's right. I must have called her for over 10 minutes. She could just be sleeping and not have noticed. Rika-chan's house is really small. She would definitely hear the phone ringing, even if she was asleep. Satoko-chan is there too, so there's no way neither of them would notice. Huh? Satoko? You mean she's living with Rika-chan? Yeah. You didn't know? Well, we can talk about that later. Anyway, if you called that much and no one answered, then something's definitely wrong. Reina understood the situation wasn't normal, far faster than I could have ever imagined her to. It made her seem dependable. However, the fact that Reina had acknowledged this also meant that the best case possibility of it all, just being the result of my own needless fears, went out the window. I'll go to Rika-chan's house right now. Will you come with me? I can show you the way. Sounds good. Let's meet at the same place as usual. I'll be waiting for you. No, wait. I'll come get you at your house. You just wait there. And tell your family you're coming with me to Rika-chan's house, okay? Would that be okay? We might lose time if you come here. Did you call Mi-chan too? She's really dependable at times like these. If you haven't, then I'll give her a call. My thoughts froze for a moment. Shion had just told me to be careful around Mion during a phone conversation a little while ago. If the Sonozaki main house was somehow lurking behind the surface of the animal freak deaths, then the current heir to the family, Mion, wouldn't be uninvolved. So wouldn't that mean she wasn't uninvolved in what happened this year to Takano-san and Tomitake-san, and also the mayor's disappearance? Okay, bye. I'll be right over. Wait for me. That's all Reina said before hurriedly hanging up. Now wasn't the time to be doubting Mion. I needed to make sure Rika-chan was safe. I got changed and grabbed the key to my bike. I figured things would go more smoothly if we met up in the place we usually do before school. Reina wouldn't need to come all the way to my house. My parents would probably object if I told them I was leaving, so I creeped out without a word. The night was unusually warm and disagreeably humid. She said that Rika-chan and Satoko lived together, right? Then it wasn't only Rika-chan. Satoko wasn't there either. Realizing what them living together really meant caused my thoughts to immediately take a turn for the worse. That can't be. Satoko is... She's got nothing to do with any of this. Even if there were a reason for Rika-chan to disappear, there shouldn't be one for Satoko. Keiichi-kun! Reina was really fast. She approached me on her bike at an amazing speed. Her breath was ragged, painting a clear picture of just how hurriedly she'd been going. Hey, Reina, let's get going. Keiichi-kun, I thought I told you to wait at your house. Reina's expression was all business. Was she mad? It came out of the blue, and I faltered for a moment. Well, I just figured it'd be faster to meet up here. Keiichi-kun, don't you get it? Reina shouted, clearly angry. I'd never seen Reina like this before. Do I get it? What's the problem? Reina seemed to notice she was scaring me, took a couple of deep breaths, then continued as if admonishing me, but her expression didn't soften at all. Keiichi-kun, the whole village is in uproar now that the elder disappeared, right? Yeah. Now you're telling me that Rika-chan and Satoko-chan aren't where they're supposed to be, right? Yeah. That about sums it up. Then you need to be more careful. Do you have any idea how dangerous it is to be standing here alone in the middle of the night? I began to understand where Rika's anger was coming from. You told your family you'd be going to Rika-chan's house with me, didn't you? So that in the worst case scenario, if you and I were to disappear, people would know when and where we did? Reina was perfectly level-headed in this emergency situation. Ever since the night of the Watsunagashi, every night, someone had died or disappeared. On the night itself, Takano-san and Tomitake-san met strange ends. On the next night, the elder vanished. Now, on the night after that, Rika-chan and Satoko were nowhere to be found. I hadn't been thinking of anyone but myself, but it wasn't enough to say that Hinamizawa was a little strange. It was a little weird at the moment. It was, in fact, extremely strange. Reina had even anticipated our own disappearances and had told me to tell my family where I was going. I was embarrassed on my own carelessness, and the need to be embarrassed made me afraid of the night. Sorry, I didn't tell them yet. Okay, then let's go tell them together. With Reina beside me, I wheeled back towards my house. The moon seemed strangely high in the sky, a sky that was uselessly vast and cold, so that no matter what, it would never seem to me like a dream. This cruel fact had already confronted me. On such a crazy night, Reina had been unimaginably dependable. Hinamizawa's metamorphosis, enough to make Reina caution me against carelessness, was, to me, the most fearsome thing of all. The moon seemed strangely high in the sky. We met up with Mion on the way, and she, of course, was unsure whether to believe me about Rika-chan and Satoko's disappearance. Kei-chan, are you serious? I'm gonna get really mad if this is a joke. Mion was clearly displeased. If this were a joke, it wasn't funny. I understood how indiscreet my words were. Ever since the day before yesterday, someone had either died or vanished every night. Rika-chan and Satoko disappearing after all that was something you just couldn't say, even in jest. Mi-chan, if it really is a joke, don't get mad, smile. It would be a joke after all. We need to go make sure whether it's a joke or not. You're right. Sorry for getting upset. However indiscreet a joke it may have been, If we learned that our friends were safe, it would end up as nothing more than a funny story. Having been warned about that by Reyna, Mion gave a dry smile with the tension she felt loosening a bit. She mounted her bicycle as well. Our 3 bicycles lightly flashed down the pitch-black roads. They were some of the only illumination outside. Kei-chan, why did you suddenly decide to call and ask about Rika-chan's house at a time like this? Mion asked me the same thing that I had troubled explaining to Reyna. Would it be weird to call it a premonition? I couldn't quite tell because it was dark, but I could see Mion smiling very ambiguously. I definitely understood that she wasn't convinced, though, despite the darkness. Well, I had this bad dream while I was snoozing, and I couldn't get it out of my head. So did Rika-chan get kidnapped in the dream? Well, it was more of a vague feeling sort of thing. If Rika-chan had answered the phone, I would have called you and Rain after that. Lies smoothly babbled out of my mouth, makeshift though they were. I was lying because I thought telling them I was connected to Shion would be silently admitting we'd stolen into the ritual storehouse together that night. Mion didn't press me any further. I didn't know whether that convinced her. Or maybe she figured that making sure Rika-chan and Satoko were safe would be faster than making an issue out of it. I felt relieved and immediately a little guilty. Mion hadn't really been acting any differently these last few days, but I'm still trying to distance myself from her for some reason. It was only because of what I heard from Shion and Oishi-san that she was a successor to some kind of super extravagant gang family. No. Was I just trying to force myself to forget? Don't do that, Keiichi Maebara. Wasn't it Mion who was the first to ask about the night of the Watanagashi? In such a harsh tone at that. Have I already forgotten the terror I felt? At that time, Mion looked like someone different from the Mion I knew. When I think about that Mion, when Shion and Oishi-san's descriptions of Mion made a tiny bit more sense. That's it, isn't it? If it wasn't for how she acted that day, then I wouldn't be feeling this way towards her now. What on earth was going on with her back then? I was conveniently thinking only of everything she had done after that, while disregarding the very first thing, the thing I should have been looking at most, wasn't I? Mion was pedaling her bicycle in front of me, her long hair fluttering in the wind. No matter how long I looked at her back, it never gave me answers to any of my questions. We went all the way to the stone steps leading to the shrine grounds. Of course, we weren't going to want to haul our bikes up there, so we parked them beside the staircase instead. So this is the Furude Shrine. Everybody comes and goes as they please, as if it were a park, but this place is actually a grand estate owned by the Furude family. So the entire shrine is private property. It really makes you feel the passage of time. 10 or 20 years ago, it would have looked the exact same. Then wouldn't that mean that the Furude family is really old, with the history going back for generations? Yeah, they're gone. That's odd. Reina said something clearly disquieting, so I ran over to her. What's wrong, Reina? Rika-chan and Satoko always leave their bicycles here. See? They're gone. I took a look around. Indeed, there were no other bicycles aside from the ones we'd taken to get here. Couldn't they have parked them somewhere else? Could they have brought them up the stairs? Those girls couldn't do that, Keiichi-kun. Just as she said, I couldn't imagine Rika-chan and Satoko lugging their bikes all the way up there. We hadn't yet knocked on Rika-chan's door, but the reality was already sparkling some ideas that weren't what you call good. Maybe they were just parked under some trees and we hadn't noticed them. I refused to believe that not being able to find their bikes here was proof that they disappeared. Let's go! The only way to be sure is to check their house. We all nodded and dashed up the stone steps. We passed through the red arch and came out onto the shrine grounds, which was covered in neat gravel. It was so quiet here, as though the Watanagashi festival had never happened. So where's the house they live in? Over here. Come with me. Reina took the lead and sprinted off. We went towards the assembly hall behind the shrine, then looped behind it. In the darkness of the night, we found a small prefab 2-story shack that looked like a warehouse. The lights are off. Are they sleeping? Let's knock. Reina and Mion neared the shack, which didn't really look like a place people would live. They had such a beautiful shrine, so I figured they lived in an equally beautiful house. It was far from what I had expected. Rika-chan! Satoko-chan! Are you there? Reina shouted up towards the second floor. Her voice was restrained at first, but it steadily grew louder. No answer. In fact, there wasn't any sort of activity in the house at all. They might be sleeping. Let's wake them up. Mion banged on the shutter with both hands, and the loud sounds echoed into our surroundings. They would have to notice this much noise. They would turn the light in their room, fling open the windows, and yell, "What time do you think it is?" That, however, wasn't happening. There was absolutely no response. Mion stopped slamming her fist on the shutter, and a sudden silence fell over us. The silence aroused terrible thoughts in us. I could feel the blood draining from my face. It's locked. I wonder if we can get into it somehow. Reina showed no signs of stopping. It didn't look like she would admit they weren't there until we went inside and saw for ourselves. That refusal to give in gave me strength. The second-story windows wouldn't be locked. I'll give them a try. Kei-chan, a ladder! Mion brought over a ladder that was standing against the house. The footing was a little unstable for me to be climbing it, but Mion held the ladder firmly in place for me. I hadn't climbed too many ladders. My inexperience with them exposed. I climbed up one step at a time and tried to open each window on the second floor. Mi-chan, I'm going to check the main house just to be sure, okay? I'll be right back. Reina darted away. What? A main house? It's the Furude family's actual house. After her parents passed away, I think it's been left like that. Ah, right. Rika-chan's parents, they passed away, huh? At that point, I recalled something else. Wasn't Satoko living here too? Satoko is also an orphan. Her parents fell from a cliff because of Oya Shirasama's curse. Then her older brother, Satoshi-kun, he disappeared. Satoshi, I've heard that name before. I remembered. He was the one who disappeared last year because of the curse. Ever since then, Satoko and Rika-chan have been living in this shack. Neither of them has any family, but at least they're together. They help each other out. Reina said main house, didn't she? Wouldn't it be easier to live there? The curtains were drawn, so I couldn't get a look inside to see, but two young girls living together seemed a pretty tough life. I think she tried that at first. She said it was hard, though, because it reminded her of her parents. I had no idea. I felt really bad for them. They were normally so cheerful at school that I never even realized an atom of this. Rika-chan and Satoko-chan, they have it hard, huh? She's cursed. Huh? Suddenly, Mion said something in a low voice that it sounded like she was really cursing someone, and I didn't let it slide. And with that, that's where I'm going to end this episode. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace!